Okay. I'm so sorry, everybody. That's the first time that has ever happened. So, um, I appreciate your patience. I don't know what happened. That was bizarre. Anywho, so let me go ahead and I think we left off here. Um, And I was encouraging everybody to reach out to faculty if you're interested in the research to take a look at that. But where I was going next was to call out Professor Ryder here at the bottom. She's our head graduate advisor for the MS and PhD programs. And so if you have any other more technical related questions, she is a great faculty member to reach out to as it relates to our degree and our degree requirements. We brought on some new faculty in the last couple of years. And most recently, we brought on Professor Ying Kui, and she started last year. She is teaching and taking on students at the moment. You can see her training and her area of interests and which courses she will be teaching and has created in the past. Professor Chue Yan, he also joined us last year and is doing well with his teaching and his faculty advising as well. And you can see all of his criteria listed as well in experience. We welcomed two faculty, one of which is Hui Wen Jia, and she is teaching her first course this semester, and she came to us from University of Michigan, Ann Arbor, after her stint with Amazon. And there's also our assistant teaching professor, Philip Kerger. Although he's not advising faculty, he is a teaching faculty member. And so he primarily is focusing on teaching our Master of Analytics students. But these are his interests. And he just completed his PhD this spring. So we're very excited to be growing our staff and our faculty to scale with the growth of our graduate degree programs. So if you're deciding on Berkeley, here's some fun facts about our campus and what might help to draw you to UC Berkeley. You see here our most recent Nobel Prize winner in chemistry, Professor Doudna. That was in 2020. And from what I understand, just today, there was also a UC Berkeley alum who was awarded a Nobel Prize in chemistry as well. So the list keeps growing. And if you ever come and visit us on campus, they have parking spots that say NL on them, and those are reserved for our Nobel laureates. And shortly, oh, I'm sorry, the most recent wasn't Professor Dudna, but the year after that, excuse me, was Professor David Card in economics and his work in labor. And so you can see the whole slew of many contributions to society that UC Berkeley has provided, and it is only going to continue to grow. We're located in the San Francisco Bay Area, so we are around high tech, data analytics, healthcare, design, obviously not far from Silicon Valley as well. So very accessible to a lot of these different technologies and potential research collaborations too. And this is a view, this looks like this might be from maybe Evans Hall, but on a beautiful clear day to San Francisco. So when I'm talking about access to various technologies and companies, here's sampling of the different companies that our students have either interned for or have gone on for full-time roles. This is obviously beyond academics. However, these are potential companies who you might be interested to work with or intern with at some point. So IEOR, even when I came to this department about 5 years ago, and I've been on campus for almost 20 years. I didn't know what IER was about, so this has been very educational for me. And perhaps you're in the same boat. But what does IER do? What's its goal? And there are basically two main buckets. There's your operations research and your industrial engineering. OR focuses more on theory and algorithms for optimization, data science, stochastics, and simulation. And IE focuses more on OR methods to improve the efficiency of industrial scale systems involving time, value, information, money, materials, equipment, energy, human resources, and other resources. So, for instance, supply chain came into play during COVID. And so much of the world was looking at engineers who specialize in, or professionals who specialize in IEOR to help with that challenge. IEOR is the process of inventing and designing ways to analyze and improve complex systems. It improves processes to create a better world and utilizes math and statistics to understand and quantify the world around us. Leverages computing to better manage the massive amounts of information available today, and informs business strategy and operations to help leaders of industry and government make better decisions that save time and resources. And so there's a whole slew. It's extremely interdisciplinary, as you can probably see by the description here. So we have folks who are working in or partnering with, collaborating with folks in economics, in math, in statistics, in business. So it's highly interdisciplinary. In healthcare, you'll see that as there are some of our faculty who work in different areas of healthcare. So it is hugely, can be applied to many different industries. Okay, so we've learned a little bit about what makes Berkeley so fascinating and what is IEOR. So why would you want to come to Berkeley IEOR? A little bit of our history here. You'll see George Danzig. He began here with Cal Berkeley in 1960. And one of our main lecture halls is named the Danzig Auditorium after him. But 1954 is when IE officially became a division in the Department of Mechanical Engineering. And then it became its own department a couple of years later, where then that evolved to IEOR. And David Gale was awarded the John von Neumann Theory Prize in 1980. So many different accolades and awards to our faculty, including most recently Shmuel Oren. He is a professor of the graduate school, so he doesn't teach, but he does advise students along the way. But you'll see here how our department has grown in the last 15 years or so. And most recently in 2022, we started our Master of Analytics graduate degree program and welcomed our first cohort for that. And this year, our bachelor's in operations research and management science was renamed to a Bachelor of Arts in Analytics. So the US News rankings that were released very recently brought UC Berkeley to the #2 public school. However, according to Forbes, we are the #1 public school, and we've held steady at #3 as an engineering and IE program. And a little bit more about IEOR at Berkeley, in addition to other departments who we actually work very closely with. Um, our students, especially computer science, always very very popular computer engineering, civil statistics, EE, math, econ, and our House School of Business. And we'll dive a little bit here into the research that our faculty um, um, conduct. So there's two sides of this. There's the theory and application. Our optimization and algorithms, stochastic simulation, and data science on the theory side, and the practicality of those theories. These are the various research areas that our faculty focus on. And again, if you visit our website and click on their different web pages, you'll be able to see what areas they specialize in. And we have faculty in each of these different areas. So I really do encourage you to take a look at that to, again, make sure that the research interests are aligned with what you're looking to do. So Professor Anil Aswani, he's also the head undergraduate advisor. He focuses on healthcare. And so he developed the first theoretically proven approach to fairness that can be applied across numerous groups, characteristics, and traits, pushing data-driven decision-making closer to the promise of unbiased accuracy. And then Professor Ken Goldberg, he is pretty prominent in the robotics world. And his team has developed an algorithm that helps robots maintain section cut grasp during high-speed pick-and-place operations used in warehouses and logistics center. And so he has shared this with Amazon, for example. I think it was Jeff Bezos, as he likes to share, has seen this in action. And then Professor Zayu Zheng has been awarded the prestigious Hellman Fellowship that was very recent this last year to design a more effective application mechanism that promotes truthful information reporting and eliminates implicit bias in the current ranking algorithm for housing vouchers. And Professor Rajan Udwani, he joined our faculty 4 years ago now, and he received the prestigious Google Research Scholar Award for proposing a new model, an algorithm that significantly improves online resource allocation with wide applicability across various domains. And Professor Robert Leachman, on the other side of his career, who has very recently retired, he is actually more on the application side, but he's been very influential in the world of bioindustrial and manufacturing. And then again, here is Professor Goldberg, but using robotics for telesurgery. So our professors Atemturk, Hochbaum, and Grigas are participating in the National AI Institute for Advances in Optimization. And so they are partnering with various faculty from these institutions listed here. So Berkeley, Georgia Tech, Clark Atlanta University, UC San Diego, USC, and University of Texas, Arlington. And our faculty are working on these topics listed here in the gold box and partnering with the other faculty as well. And here are some highlights. We saw a snapshot of some of the history of the awards that our IEOR faculty, some of the more prominent faculty have received in our department, but more recently, they have been on a roll receiving their accolades. So you can see listed here many of our faculty. We don't have a huge amount of faculty, but they are hard hitting in terms of the impact that they have on the profession, as you can see from the awards. All right, I'm going to go ahead and hand this over to Erica.
All right. Hi, everybody. So we're going to move on to talking a little bit more about our graduate program. So first, we're going to do a little overview So we do have 4 different graduate programs here in Berkeley IEOR. We have 2 academic programs, which are our MS and PhD programs, and then we have 2 professional programs, so the MEng and the Master of Analytics. So the academic programs focus on research and theory, whereas the professional programs provide students with practical skills and knowledge for industry. So we're going to talk a little bit more about our academic program, specifically the PhD today. All right, so some differences between the MS and the PhD. They, like we just said, are both considered academic programs, but the MS is a one-year program, and then the PhD is, the normal time is 5 years, and it's a research-oriented program. If you apply to the PhD without an MS, students will earn the MS degree along the way. But we do want to just emphasize that our master's degree programs, so the MS, the MEng, and the analytics programs are considered terminal degree programs. So students in these programs do not continue on for the PhD. And we encourage students who are interested in a PhD to just go ahead and apply for the PhD program, even if they do not have a master's degree. All right, and then we also have like our like I said earlier, 2 professional programs, the analytics and the MEng, and we just want to kind of just showcase here the differences between those 2 programs. I do want to mention, though, we will be having other info sessions today about the MS, which will happen right after this one at 10 o'clock. And then we're going to be having 2 info sessions later, one for the MEng and one for the Analytics. So if you're interested in these other graduate programs from Berkeley IEOR, we'd encourage you to attend those info sessions to learn more specifically about those. But the Master of Engineering and the Master of Analytics, they both share some core IEOR courses in optimization and stochastics. And they also share some elective courses. So we have typically taken in the spring semester, which include, as Heather was saying, IEOR is very interdisciplinary. So there's a wide range of different courses for students to choose from for their electives. But the M Engineering has a focus on engineering leadership. So they are required to take leadership coursework, and then they also have a capstone project that they work on throughout the year. Whereas the analytics program, it's a little bit longer. So the M Engineering is just fall and the spring, and then analytics is fall, spring, summer. And the analytics program has an analytics lab course that students take during the spring, which is a project-based course. And then the analytics program also has an internship. So that summer, after the first year, they are completing an internship. Okay, next slide. All right, so talking about the PhD program, this is our program to provide you with the latest theory, computational tools, and research methods for a career either in academia or industry. Students, like we've been saying this whole time, very interdisciplinary, wide range of different domains that students can focus in on, from AI to consulting to management to robotics, human factors, and so on. Some more specifics about our program. Like I said earlier, the normative time is 5 years. There is a 3.0 minimum cumulative GPA requirement for all of our graduate programs. And also for all of our grad programs, 12 units is the full-time enrollment for each semester. There is a preliminary exam, or also called an entrance exam, which will happen after the first year of the program. And students take coursework during the first year to prepare them for that exam. And then there's also a qualifying exam that students take within 3 semesters of passing their preliminary exams. After they take the QE, they are going to advance to candidacy and then file their dissertation. Next slide. All right, so this breaks that down a little bit more, that process that we were just kind of sharing. So in year 1, like I mentioned, students take their required coursework and that preliminary exam at the end. The summer after their first year, they're normally doing research and looking to find a tentative advisor throughout that first year as well, and working with that tentative advisor for their summer research. In the second year, students are finishing up their coursework for IEOR and also for their minors. There are 2 minors in the PhD program. Then they're taking their qualifying exam or preparing for it and then taking it if they're already ready in that second year and starting that dissertation research. In year 3, students are finishing with the QE if they haven't already taken it and advancing to candidacy. Also, students might be finishing up their minor coursework and working on their dissertation research. In our program, we also have an annual workshop that happens each year after the QE to kind of just check in with the dissertation committee and make sure that students are progressing. And then in years 4 and then 5, if they take that 5th year, they will continue doing their yearly workshops and then ending with a final workshop to present their dissertation research and then filing that dissertation. All right, next slide. All right, so we did mention that there's some required coursework in that first year to prepare students for the preliminary exam. So I just want to highlight here some of that information. But in general, doctoral students are required to take 9 IEOR graduate courses for a letter grade during their time in our PhD program. And then there are 6 courses that are required for the preliminary exam. And those 6 include the an optimization course, a stochastics course, and then 1 additional optimization, 1 additional stochastics, and then 2 modeling courses. And you can see our list here of the different options that we have for these different categories. I do want to note just that not all of these options are offered each year. It depends on faculty availability that year. All right, and then in addition to these courses listed, students also will need to take our departmental seminar course, which happens both semesters, but typically students take that course in the fall, and that wraps up the first year. Next slide. All right, talking a little bit more about what happens after graduation. So where our alumni work. So you can see some examples here of different places people have, different universities people have joined if they're pursuing academia after they finish their PhD. So MIT, we have UCLA, USC, a variety of different universities. Some students also go into industry after they finish their PhD, so you can see all the different industries people go into, from healthcare to IT, finance, energy, transportation, manufacturing, consulting, and then different examples of companies that people have joined. All right, and then also some different examples of titles people have had after completing our program. So everything from data analyst, data scientist, founder, CEO, to research scientist, tenure track professor, research analyst, and so on. So a variety of different ways people can go after they graduate. And then more specifically, we have some of our recent graduates listed here for the PhD program. We have Ilgen, who is an assistant professor. We have Yoon, who works at LLNL as a systems analyst. We have Mo, who is also an assistant professor at UNC. And then we have Pelagie, who is a research scientist at Amazon. If you want to learn more about our graduates and what they're doing, we encourage you to check out our website here and seeing our student profiles. Our PhD students have different ways of getting involved on campus, but specifically with our department, we have the IEOR Graduate Student Group, which is a group that promotes sharing, communication, and collaboration with our graduate students, specifically the PhD students, to help them kind of build community and share ideas around academic research and professional development. There is also let's see, so they have discussions about research ideas, methodologies, software, and like we said, career development. They support students, though, with their personal, academic, and research lives. One of the things I do want to highlight on our next slide here is the IEOR Graduate Student Group Mentorship Program. So this is a program that pairs our first-year students with continuing students in the PhD program to provide support and guidance for those students in their first year. And then the mentorship program also helps the PhD students build that community while they're new to Berkeley and new to our department. All right, I'm going to pass it over to Yuri to talk a little bit more about admissions.
Thanks so much, Erica. All right, so our application for the next admissions cycle, so entry in fall 2026, is now open. The deadline to apply is Monday, December 16th at 8:59 p.m. PST. So make sure you're aware of the time zone as well as the 8:59 deadline, not the usual midnight. All right, so this is our application requirements for this upcoming cycle. So I'm just gonna quickly go through those. And if you have any questions, please feel free to pop them in chat. But first and foremost, for all of our graduate programs, we require a bachelor's degree from an accredited institution or recognized equivalent. And through this degree, we do want to see sufficient undergraduate education that would prepare you to succeed in graduate work. As for physical uploads, we do look for academic records. And so if you are a domestic applicant, we are looking for a transcript, both unofficial or official. However, official is highly preferred. If you are uploading an unofficial transcript, it must include, at minimum, the name of the institution, your full name as it appears on your application, and a chronological listing of all classes and grades. And if you are an international applicant, you'll need to upload your transcript as well as either a certified translation of your transcript, if it's not in English, by the American Translators Association or the Ministry of Education. Or you can submit an official WES evaluation. And so more information on both of those and all of this information is on our website. Next up is the GRE. And so the GRE is required for, oh, sorry, I totally forgot to mention, in addition to academic records, we do have some courses we would like to see on your transcript in regards to academic preparation. And so for the PhD, at minimum, applicants should have 2 years of undergraduate mathematics, including calculus and linear algebra, as well as a course in probability or statistics. And we also want to see a demonstration of competency in a scientific programming language. Excuse me. In addition, for the PhD, strong academic preparation includes courses in one or more of advanced maths, operations research, engineering, and computing. We do have some UC Berkeley equivalent courses listed on our website to give you an idea and an example of what syllabi and course coverage we are looking for. Now onto the GRE. So the GRE is required and it is also the only test accepted. So that means that we will not accept tests such as the GMAT. That being said, there is no minimum test score requirement for the GRE. And when submitting your test score, you'll be sending your official scores to UC Berkeley's graduate division. And so that code is 4833, and it's posted on our website as well as the graduate division's website. Note that the GRE will ask if you would like to provide a department code. That is not required for us. If you just send it to 4833, it'll get routed to us. Another thing to note about the GRE is that we only accept tests taken within the past 5 years. So that means for this upcoming admission cycle, tests taken before June 2020 will not be accepted. Additionally, the test must be taken by the application deadline. And reminder that that is December 16th for us. That being said, GRE scores are required for all applicants, but we do have some exceptions for UC Berkeley alumni and current UC Berkeley students. And so if you're an alumni from UC Berkeley who graduated with 3.5 or higher cumulative or advanced GPA, or if you are a current UC Berkeley student and at the time of application submission have a 3.5 or higher cumulative or advanced GPA. And advanced GPA just means coursework taken in your last 2 years of undergraduate study. Then you would be eligible for this waiver. Speaking of tests, if you are an international applicant, you'll need to provide evidence of English language proficiency. In other words, you're going to need to take the TOEFL or IELTS exam. And so information on exemptions for those are on our website, and so you can click through that to see if the institution you attended would provide for an exemption. But the long and short is that if you received or you are a candidate to receive your undergraduate degree from an institution outside of the US, then you are required to fulfill this requirement. And just to note, this is a UC Berkeley graduate division requirement. And so unfortunately, our office would not be able to provide any waivers or exemptions. If there are any questions, you would need to reach out to the graduate admissions office directly. All right, moving on from tests. For the PhD application, we require 3 letters of recommendation. These are all electronic, so you would be entering information on your letter writers through your application, and the system will send an email out to your letter writers, and they'll be able to submit everything online. We do not accept any physical letters, and so everything must be submitted electronically. Additionally, we require 3 letters, so no more or no less. You won't be allowed to request additional letters outside of that 3. So just be mindful when you're selecting your letter writers. And we strongly prefer to see letters from current supervisors, former supervisors, faculty, especially for the PhD, or other individuals with whom you've had significant professional interaction. Next up, we have 2 essay components in our application. So the first is the statement of purpose, and the best way to summarize this is to say that this essay is sort of your academic statement, and it should really convey why you're interested in the PhD program in IEOR, what you will contribute to this program, and what you plan to do after you graduate from this program. The second essay is the personal history statement. And this essay should really provide insight into who you are as a person and any personal experiences that have influenced you to apply for this PhD in IEOR. So this one is a little bit more personal. For both essays, we are looking for approximately 500 to 1,000 words, which will be approximately 1 to 2 single space pages in a 12-point font. So being concise is key for these essays. Next up, we have the resume/CV requirement. And so you're going to want to upload your resume to your application. That is a requirement. And this will help the admissions committee gain a more in-depth understanding about your academic and professional experiences. And last but not least, we have our application fee, which is a UC Berkeley graduate admissions fee. If you're a US citizen or a current permanent resident, this fee is going to be $135 this cycle. And for all others, the fee is $155. That being said, we do have application fee waivers available. So if you're looking through our website on the How to Apply page, all the way at the bottom, you click on the application fee dropdown, and there's a heading that reads application fee waiver. And this will walk you through 3 different options to potentially apply for this. Please note that for the third option of our application fee waiver, which is the Berkeley IEOR application fee waiver request, you would need to submit that form no later than December 2nd. So basically 2 weeks before your application deadline. Now, all things said about the application requirements, a question we commonly receive is one application component more important than the other, etc. And we just want to remind everyone that the IEOR admissions committee does evaluate each application holistically. So that means that the reviewer is really looking at all aspects of your application as a whole to see who you are as a well-rounded applicant, rather than just focusing on one point over the other. Next slide, please. All right, some important reminders during this application phase. So as a reminder, you are only allowed to apply to 1 degree program at UC Berkeley per admissions cycle. This is a UC Berkeley requirement. And so that means if, for example, if you're interested in both the MS and the PhD and you're not quite sure, reach out to us or read to our website to do your research to figure out which one more aligns with your goals, because you will only be allowed to apply to 1 Berkeley program per application cycle. Additionally, please remember the application process is entirely electronic, so we will not be receiving if we received any physical application components, that would not be eligible towards your application. And so make sure you're just following all of these steps online on your application to get all of those uploads in. Additionally, please remember to submit your application. And one thing I do want to note is that all of your application components need to be in by our deadline in order for your application to be considered complete and reviewable. So that means your letter writers would need to submit their letters by that December 16th deadline. If you're requesting GRE scores or TOEFL scores, those need to also be received and verified by UC Berkeley. And one thing to note is that it does take up to 5 to 15 days for test scores to be verified. And so it's I highly recommend getting a head start on your application and just getting those in earlier. You are able to request your letters of recommendation and upload, excuse me, upload your transcripts, etc., and also request your test scores to be delivered to UC Berkeley before you physically hit submit on your application. So if you want to get a head start, highly recommend doing that. But just make sure that you hit submit by the deadline. Unfortunately, we cannot make any exceptions for applications submitted after that. And last but not least, I folded that into my previous response, but just to reiterate, an application will only be considered complete and reviewable if all materials are submitted electronically by the deadline, and that includes letters of recommendation and official test scores that have been received and verified by UC Berkeley. Next slide, please. All right, enough about application requirements. I'd love to talk about our amazing IEOR PhD ambassadors. And so our IEOR PhD ambassadors are here to help you learn more about our graduate programs, student life, and opportunities available at Berkeley. And so we have that link below for bios and contact information. So definitely hit that to get more information. We are joined by 2 of our ambassadors today, Alberto and Grace. And so if you have any questions for them, then please feel free to toss that into the Q&A and they'll be able to help answer your questions. And Grace and Alberto, do you want to quickly hop on with your video just to quickly introduce yourselves? Let's start with Grace, yeah.
Hi, everyone. I'm Grace. I'm a second-year PhD student working with Professor Guo, and currently I'm interested in stochastic games with applications in finance, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. I'm Alberto. I'm a 4th-year PhD student, and I'm working with Professor Guo and Professor Mastrolia. I am working on stochastic optimal control and random time horizon. And I think in my career after the PhD, I want to go back to industry. So if you guys are interested in anything or you have particular like doubts or question about how's like living in Berkeley and the program from a student perspective, like shoot us text in the Q&A or feel free to ask us any questions.
Thank you both so much. All right, next slide, please. Let me get my screen back up. All right. Another way to sort of get an inside look at life as a Berkeley IEOR student is to follow us on our Instagram. So we are at UC Berkeley IEOR, and we have Instagram takeovers where our current students will take over the story for the day, so you can sort of see what life is like. And so on the left, there is a link to see Grace's takeover that happened recently, and then on the right is Hannah's. We do have some upcoming takeovers happening. So October 18th, one of our PhD ambassadors, Ricky, will be doing that. And then the following week on the 25th, Alberto, who is also on our call, will be doing one of those. So definitely check it out. Next slide, please. As for some other ways to connect with us, we do have more info sessions coming up before our application closes. And so for those who may be interested in the Master of Analytics, specifically career questions or industry prospects, then we have an industry panel happening on Tuesday, October 15th. That is virtual. If you want more if you are a current UC Berkeley undergraduate student and you want more information on the MS and PhD, then we'll have a virtual info session on October 28th. And on the next day, on the 29th, we'll have an in-person Master of Analytics info session for Berkeley undergrads. In early November, so that following week, we have a faculty roundtable where we'll be joined by faculty to just talk more about Master of Analytics opportunities. And then in the middle of November, we'll have another Master of Analytics information session. Definitely scan that QR code or follow that link, and you'll be able to find more registration info, and additional November info sessions will be announced as we move through October. Next slide, please. Last but not least, you can always connect with us. So we are on Instagram, we're on Twitter, we're on Facebook. We have our website, which has been updated over the summer. And so it'll be a bit more legible and have more information and answers to common questions. On the website, highly recommend going through the how to apply page under PhD, as well as the FAQ. We selected some common questions we've received over the past admission cycles and provided responses to those. We also have a newsletter that you could join to get more information about our program sent directly to your inbox, as well as a LinkedIn. And last but not least, if you have any questions, please feel free to contact us. Our email is gradadmissions-ior@berkeley.edu. And we will get back to you. And next slide, please. And that brings us to the end of this presentation. Let me get my screen back. And so now if you have any questions, please post them in the Q&A and we will get to those. And looks like we have 9 minutes, so we definitely have time to do that. Oops, sorry, let me get my screen. All right, Erica, do you want to tackle the first question that you're going to answer live?
Okay, so it says, what is the difference between a basic and advanced degree according to the admissions team? I'm assuming, I'm not exactly sure what this is in reference to, but basic degree would just be like your bachelor's degree, and then advanced degree is anything higher than a bachelor's degree, like master's degree, PhDs, and things like that. If you have additional questions, feel free to drop them in the Q&A though. Another person has asked about prerequisites and how to, I guess, highlight those on their application, especially like if the courses aren't explicitly, you know, those specific like linear algebra or calculus, like they don't specifically say what they are, you know, how can they highlight that on their application? And the best way to demonstrate proficiency in a programming language. I don't know, maybe Heather, do you mind hopping in for that question?
I will try my best as well. So Professor Grigas is the current admissions chair, and what he typically shares with this type of question is, if it's not explicitly labeled as linear algebra or calculus 2, to upload a in your additional there's an additional like writing sample section. You can also upload syllabi to reflect that this fulfills linear algebra and calculus. And in terms of the proficiency in programming language, I think anything and everything that you have is going to be helpful in your application to be more competitive. So there isn't really an ideal coursework project, or both, one or the other. Whatever that you have is going to be helpful. So everybody's situation is different. So we're not expecting everybody to be cookie cutter and to have the same in terms of programming. So you want to make sure to share that in your application. So that would be my response if I were to be in Professor Grigas's shoes right now, which I am nowhere near that. But that's, I believe, how they would how he would answer that.
All right, another question we have is about financing the PhD, also enhancing opportunities for acceptance, and what prospective supervisors are looking for. And I see, Alberto, you'd like to share some information about that.
Yeah. So I don't know if it's like the typical situation, but I can talk about my own personal situation, which I think is important as an ambassador. So typically the department has like some scholarship for first year PhD student, and that's because we want you don't have a lot of time to do everything else, but like taking the coursework required to pass the prelim exam. After that, usually there are like two ways you are getting paid as a PhD student typically. Through like the school, and is either through GSR appointment. So if your advisor has some funding, you can just do research over like a semester, or you can GSI. As a department, we are, I would say, a number that is good enough, but we are always looking for like some more GSIs and reader appointments. So it's fun to teach. I've been teaching since the start of my second year, and those are like the two main options. Of course, there are like some scholarship and fellowship that are external, always shared by the department. I keep like getting emails from Meter all the time about new scholarship and fellowship opportunities. So that's another way you can fund your own PhD. And of course, like during summer, you can intern in some places. Like Either was showing earlier a slide with all the possibilities you have, like being in the Bay Area, such a rich environment full of opportunities. How to enhance your application, I would say that for me, the main decisive factor between a successful applicant and a not so successful one is like in the recommendation letter, because at the end of the day, Berkeley is a very competitive program. Everyone knows that, so you're already getting all the students have roughly like 4.0 GPA, perfect GRE score. So those are like sort of the thresholds. And then like if you have a professor who knows you very, very well, who speaks highly of you, and the departments know this professor, it's gonna count for like something more. And also it's very important how you set up your own personal statement, and because you have to sell yourself. You have to explain to the department like why they should take you and not another one of 1,000 students that are applying. And I don't know if I addressed all the for what supervisor is looking for. I would say just someone that is like hardworking and ready to commit. There is plenty of time during your first year to decide which professor you want to work with, and it's just a matter of like, I don't know, reaching out to them, schedule like some alpha hour just to talk about potential research direction, being like proactive. I would say these are like the most important things a professor is looking or they're not expecting you to be a fully fledged researcher like when you're entering the program. Otherwise, we wouldn't have like a PhD program in the first place.
I'm also going to pop a link into chat. And so that is our FAQ. And the third question on the FAQ is about what funding is available to PhD students. And so you can read a bit more information there. I would say what Alberto said is definitely what you should take to heart. Also, I just want to quickly pop in, there is one question that was answered, and so it's gone from the queue, but it was regarding what's the difference between a basic and an advanced degree. And so a basic degree is an undergraduate degree, and an advanced degree is any graduate degrees. So yeah. And then I believe we have one more question in the Q&A, and this will be our last one because we have our MS Info session happening right afterwards. But the question is, may I know the recent placement? And so Erica or Heather, would you be interested in taking this?
So for the PhD students, every year they kind of start to get a little bit off cycle because of their qualifying exam or research or dissertation, wherever they are in their degree progress. So we don't have like a solid placement in terms of this is where this cohort placed in spring of 24 or fall of 23. For example. So we are working though on streamlining that process in terms of gathering that more solid data, and we're working actually with our graduate division as a whole to gather this exit data type of survey information. But I can generally share that at least in the last 5 years that I've been here, that it's usually 50-50, where 50% will go into academia and 50% will go into industry. They do end up placing, they go somewhere. That is a fact. So they are very much sought after and do very well from the alumni, of course, that we who we keep in touch with. So and I do want to say too, I think that question about the degrees was in reference to the TOEFL, which is a requirement from the graduate division for admissions. So I really, if you have questions about that and your eligibility to waive or not waive, to contact grad admissions. Is it GRADADM? Maybe you can drop that in the chat. Thank you, Yuri. And you can reach out to them about your situation to see if the TOEFL can be waived. Thank you everybody so much for joining us, and thank you to Alberto and to Grace as well for pitching in. I think it's so valuable that you brought your perspective. Today, you have your finger on the pulse. So we really appreciate your input. Thank you again, and if you have any questions, please reach out to us, and we hope to see your application this fall. Take good care, everybody. Be well.
Bye.